morning, Captains. This is Kent again, and welcome to the Flight Show. So, in continuing with the tutorials that have been requested about the Carenado ATR 72500 series, the next thing that people had wanted to know was about the autopilot system. So I'm going to give you my humble knowledge of how I have learned on the autopilot system for this aircraft. Okay, this here is our autopilot system. It's known as the ADU, or Advisory Display Unit. So let's quickly go through what its systems are. In this part of your display here, this is where you will see advisories. In this part of the display, you will see selected altitude. So as you see here, it has altitude and select. So that's letting you know like what's going on, what you have going on with the system right here. The altitude's going to always be right here. In this line, you'll have messages. They'll be also listed in gold, kind of like the same color here. Here, below that, you'll have armed mode. Armed mode means basically what you have enabled. But down here is green mode. That's what's captured. So if you're flying a GPS, a LNAV, and you're flying that route and it's captured it and it's locked on it and you're flying it, then that's going to be green to say that this is captured and we're flying towards or on that GPS route. Here, if you have a VOR, it's armed, and therefore you need to put in the proper course and VOR signal in your radio navs, and so that'll let you know that, okay, the VOR is working, you can use that to determine your course. Okay, over here, your reset, that doesn't do anything. Your L select, that doesn't do anything. Your R select over here doesn't do anything. This is brightness, and that lets you change the brightness or, dim your display unit. I got it here on a nice cool 50. I like it on 75. There we go. All right, now let's go down here to the buttons. So for the AFCS, or Automatic Flight Control System Control Panel, that's this right here. Let's go through each of these. They should look familiar to you. Heading, that turns your heading. You can operate the bug for your heading right here. So if I have that, let's see, if I turn this knob, you can see over here that the bug for the heading actually changes. If you right click with your mouth, it'll change it to increments of 10. And then when you want to make fine, hit your right mouse click again, and then it makes it in increments of 1. So that's how you bounce between that. And the same goes for your course, the same goes for your altitude. So since we're cruising for this tutorial flight at 24,000 feet, I'll just turn this to 20,000 feet. I mean, actually 23. And if I right click, you can see that this changes to increments of 100. Then I'll click it right back. All right, now here is your nav that will arm your basically VOR or your LNAV system. You have approach. This is what you would use to fly your approach for your ILS. Notice that there is no LOC for arming localizer. It's just going to be the approach, or you will arm your nav for the localizer if that's what you're just trying to tune on. Back course, that's right here. Yeah, that's for the localizer back course, just so you know. The IAS system, that's for your indicated airspeed. So what this will do is if your airplane is in a climb and you're not sure what vertical speed to have, if you climb at, let's just say 500 feet per minute, and you get to 170 knots, the recommended climb for this aircraft, evidently the optimal climb speed, indicated airspeed, is 170 knots. So once you get to 170, hit this, and it will pitch the aircraft so that at your power setting, it will maintain 170 knots. If you don't want to do that and you just want to arm your vertical speed, you do it here, and you adjust your vertical speed right here. This is your yaw damper button. This actually arms the autopilot, and this don't do nothing. Okay, we're all on the same page. Hey, by the way, that should not be up. Okay, so we're right now in hotel mode because we didn't want the battery to die out on us. And since this is a tutorial, I'm not going to really worry about taking you through everything. I've already loaded our navs. We're going to be doing a flight for this tutorial. I would have done the same flight that we had the tutorial for the flight management system, but flying into Key West, it does not have an ILS. It uses a GPS approach, so I had to pick an approach that had an ILS because I want to put the ILS usage in this autopilot tutorial. So all of that being said, I will bring you at the runway so that you can get right into managing the autopilot system. Very quickly, let me take you over here. Sorry. This is where you're going to determine what type of navigation you're going to use. If you want to turn on your RNAV button, you will hit this. As you can see, it's indicated on, and the display will show you that you are either in RNAV or you are on the VOR nav. And if you want to display it, you will take this and you can switch it to VOR and have this in VOR, and then that would be represented over here on your display. Back over here. But let's get it back on RNAV. And this again is for your RNAV1. This is your secondary, or RNAV2, VOR2, blah blah blah. Okay, we all good? Here you can either be in the full circle display, or you can be in the full arc display. Or if you have navs, your map mode will show your navigation points and the path that you're following, so that's up to you. I tend to like to be in the full arc mode. That's just me. So over here we have the ILS. So when you want to capture the ILS switches, what you will do is you will switch to VOR, go to your radios, navs, and put in your navigation, and you will do that up here. So put in your ILS frequency in your navigation radio beacon, and then you will put in your course. Then when it comes time, basically what I do is that I leave RNAV and then I put it on heading and keep the heading on the heading of the aircraft at that moment. Then I switch to VOR ILS, and then you will see the appropriate glide slope right here, as well as the localizer bug right here. So you'll see that when it comes time for us to do the landing. So I'll just leave it at that for right now. All right, I think that's everything that I need to go into. I will bring you back when we get to the runway. Okay, we're at runway 28 right, ready for departure from San Francisco International to Portland International. So what I'm going to show you in this meantime is my settings. So as I said already, we have our navs already put in, and so that's taken care of. So what was suggested to me by another watcher of the channel is that to get a good departure, go ahead and set your vertical speed to 500 feet per minute, because the aircraft really isn't the best accelerator and climber. But what you do is you put it at 500 feet per minute so that you can get your indicated airspeed up to 170 knots, because evidently the optimum climbing speed for this aircraft is 170 knots. So get it to 170 and then kick in your IAS, or indicated airspeed button. And what that will do is it will pitch the aircraft so that you maintain 170 knots while you climb to your cruising altitude. So that's what we're going to do. And what's also cool about that is when you put it on 500 feet per minute vertical speed, the vertical bar of your flight director will basically put you at the proper pitch so that you can accelerate to 170. So you got to keep your eye on your indicated airspeed gauge, such that you can go ahead and hit IAS right at the moment that you're at 170 knots. That makes sense? Cool. Okay, so we will go ahead and get going and get out of here. So everything is set. I have my full arc on. I have my GPS mode in LNAV. And so that's another thing. I can go ahead and hit this button. So we're at LNAV. So what's going to happen is when I hit autopilot, it'll automatically jump towards working the nav. Okay, so I'm not using ATC, so just let me make sure my approach is clear. It is clear on the left, clear on the right. Let's get out of here because I've already made one plane go around when I was crossing the runway. All right. I got a 777 coming out of there. Sweet. One thing on my I forgot my checklist. There we go. Indeed. Okay, we ready? Now, I'll also mention that while we're accelerating, I have my control levels here in auto. And there's a tutorial, a video tutorial on the Carenado site that says that you should put your control levers in auto mode, and then you're going to adjust the power management knob because it will adjust the power of the engine for you. So right now we're in takeoff mode. So you would do this when you're taking off or landing. Okay, we're V1. Rotate. Positive rate of climb, gear up. Now, all I need to do is match that rate of climb while we get up to 170 knots. Okay, we are on course. Flaps up. Bring the nose down just a wee bit. So we get our turn right. 160. Get ready to hit it. 170. There we go, right on. And I'm going to hit my autopilot. So I got bang on, 170 knots. Autopilot is in, so we are now tracking. We are now tracking the ILS. Not the ILS, but the GPS signal. Sorry about that. And we are holding our vertical speed at one that's such at this power rating. We climb at. Let's see what it's saying here. Oops, sorry. So we're basically at about a little over 1,500 feet per minute. And it's doing that automatically. So it's really, oh, by the way, we now set our power management to climb. And this will have our engines running at the most efficient manner such that we can maintain 170 knots while we climb up to 24,000 feet. So right now I think we'll just get a couple of visuals. Come on back, textures. There we go. By the way, I've just ordered some more RAM for this system, so hopefully that's going to help with those textures staying loaded as with the part. There's San Francisco over there. Excellent. So I'm running Orbx North America land class as well as Southern California and Northern California, so should, visually be pleasing. Plus I also have Orbx buildings, which are the HD buildings, added to bring more detail to your autogen scenery. So as you see here, we are on the GPS path, and just to show you, we could hit map, and there you can see the actual navigation path that we have captured, and we are flying. And as you can see, we have captured the LNAV, or the GPS navigation, and we are using the indicated airspeed as our way of ascending. So everything's working out. So really, all you have to do as the pilot is manage your systems until we get to cruising altitude. So I'll bring you back. Okay, we're at cruising altitude, so as you can see, we're holding. Now, what this should normally do is actually level out at 20,000 feet, but it did not. And I haven't quite figured out why. Sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. There's something I'm doing I'm not quite figuring out. But to make that adjustment, just be mindful of when you're getting to your cruising altitude, and then you can just hit altitude to have it hold. And then what you can do is first, let's come over here, just move this back down to 20,000 feet, then hit vertical speed, and then just drop it, and it should, and I want to say should, correct itself and just automatically go into altitude hold mode. So let's see. If it does not, I'll be ready to just hit altitude. And again, I'm not sure why it doesn't do that. Okay. So now I'm going to turn this. I might be overlooking something. I just don't know, to be perfectly honest. And so there we go, 100 feet. Okay, so what I think I figured out is that you might have to be out of the IAS mode for it to stop climbing at that rate. Still think that should be automatic. I will have to work that out, maybe bring an addendum to this video. But for the most part, what you can do is just make sure when you're within when you get the signal that you're 1,000 feet from, your cruising altitude, put your vertical speed at match your vertical speed to what you were climbing, the rate you were climbing at, and then turn off the IS mode, because now you already know what vertical indicating speed, and that should automatically turn it off. Otherwise, do it manually. Got to figure that out. Okay, so we are at cruising altitude. So what I wanted to tell you is this is where you would put your airplane in your power management system in cruise mode. Notice your control levers never leave auto. Now you can have them go into manual mode by putting them all the way forward, and there are times for that. However, for your normal system and flight management, you will leave these in auto and simply change your power management systems for your engines. Okay, so now we have nothing to do but follow our navs. So what I will do is bring you back when we're at top of descent, and then show you how this all works for the ILS landing system. Okay, we are at top of descent, so we are going to go ahead and come down. What we need to do real fast is check and see that our I'm looking on my you forgive me, I am looking on my electronic flight bag. We will be coming down to an altitude of 2,900 feet. So let's go ahead and put that on there. And I think we're a little behind the 8 ball here, so oh yeah, turn that off. 2,900 feet. And just again, I want to check where we are. Great. Let's go ahead and do this. So we'll hit vertical speed, and I'm going to descend at a rate of 2,000 feet per minute, And now what I'm going to do is take my power management and put it back to TO. Okay. Now, we should be approaching somewhere between 24,000 feet and 11,000 feet. And we are. Let's bring our control levers back so we can slow down. There we go. Excellent. And we are now descending into Portland International. So our next restriction should be, that's actually coming right up. Let's see if I can show it to you. It's not on screen yet. But since I brought it up, let's see here. What did I want to show you? I think... No, that's not it. No, that's not it either. There's a way to manipulate the range, and I completely forgot what the button is. So we'll get back to that later. Okay, so... Oh, wait. No. That was the dim button, so that's cool. Yep, that's fine. What did I do with that button? Oh well, it's like Reebok back in the day. That shoe ain't nothing without that BK button. But anyway, we're gonna digress from that. All right, so we're now we're coming to our waypoint, which is IMBRS, and we should be at 11,000 or above, which we are. Cool. All right, so there's really not much to do other than get down to altitude. So I will bring you back when we are about to go through the procedures of intercepting the ILS glide slope. Okay, we are now making our turn towards... This particular approach has vectors from air traffic control once you come to a heading of 101 degrees. But what I've noticed is that when you load these navs, your star and so forth, it's going to follow the suggested distance between your last waypoint and when you're completely on vectors. Then when you get to that point where you're supposed to turn towards the runway, it's going to do it automatically. It just reads that nav and does it. So it doesn't really acknowledge the fact that it's simply a vector. It treats it as a waypoint. So as you can see here, this is where ATC should tell you to turn. It's going to turn, and that line there is going to take you to the waypoint that sets you up for the final. So we're just going to go ahead and do it. Now, that altitude, the approach altitude is 2,900 feet, or the final, when you're coming in for final, that altitude is 2,900 feet. So we're there now. So we'll just hold this altitude, and then when it's time to turn, we'll be at the proper altitude to start our descent on our final. So as you can see, we're turning. Now, just so you know, your preparation should have been, earlier, significant enough time, is to get your nav... Oh, by the way, let me go to flaps 1. Your nav is going to put in your ILS runway, and I've already done that and put it in the, instead of it being in standby, it's active. So it's 111.30, and I've already set my course to the runway heading, which is supposed to be 282. So this is an excellent time. This is going to be an excellent time to just go ahead and put your heading bug... Oh, I'm on. No. I need this in increments of 10. Get over here. Put your heading bug on where you want to go. Now, quickly, remember, when you want to turn on your ILS approach, you hit this button, VOR ILS. When it's on, this display will now be tracking the VOR and your heading and frequency for the runway ILS of your choosing. So then we will go into actually following that final. Okay, so I'm going to turn off the autopilot because we are going to start our descent. You see right here, we are pretty much on our glide slope. So we will see the localizer, or should see it, kick in any second now. We're a little off of it, but we're going to stay on the glide slope because by the time we reach the proper waypoint, we will have we should be at 2,000 feet. Alright, letting down the landing gear. Gonna come back on the throttles just a wee bit. I'm gonna come here because we should be looking at our instruments right now. I'm gonna try to maintain that 500 feet per minute. And if not, even if it's a little bit more, I'm just gonna make sure that we get on that. There's the localizer. So we can start turning towards the runway. And if you wanted to, this is where you would hit the approach button, but we're going to go ahead and fly it. And there's the runway. And we are just a tad, just a smidgen below the glide slope. So we will just add a little bit more throttle to intercept it, then we'll pull back. And we will maintain our localizer heading. Alright, we're on the glide slope. Great. So if you want, if you were trying to do this all instrument, you could keep it here, which would be interesting to someone doing instrument, but someone who's looking at the simulator might be like, hey, I want to see the outside too. I'm just going to do this for a little bit. And we need to come a little bit over to the right. Come down just a little. Ease back off the throttle. Get back on that glide slope. Now, you could visually do it from here at this point, but we're going to stick with looking at the, the throttle. I mean, looking at, the instruments. Okay, we're a little below the glide slope. Okay. No problem. I'm going to pull back on the throttles a bit. And I'm going to raise the nose to bleed off speed. Okay, now I got to give a little throttle to get back on that glide slope. Because I'm kind of at the speed that I want. There we go. Alright, back on it. Lay off the throttles. You know, I have a thing for overwater approaches, and I didn't realize this particular runway did take you over the water onto the runway. I kind of want to do a series on overwater approaches, and where we're going to get a ton of that are the Japanese airports, because a lot of their airports are man-made islands. So I have acquired a few of them, and that's a little something coming in the future. But for now, let's land this plane. Okay, we have now flown the ILS to the runway. We can all go visual now. Minimum, so yeah, continue. Let's see if we can hit that center line.
50, 40, 30, 20.
Should have just enough flare. There we go. And we're gonna pull up on the yoke to do a little bit of aero braking and hit our reverses. Excellent. and we will be able to go ahead and exit right about here. All right, you now have your autopilot tutorial. But since we've come all this way, let's just go ahead and put this aircraft at the gate. Okay, so where are we gonna go? Airplane coming. I think what we'll do, we have 14 suitable, small, perfect. Let's do a 3, and we will not warp there. Sorry for that little stutter. It happens when it, loads. Oh, that A3 it's a ways away. Should have chose something over here. Let's do E4. Yeah, revoke. And because that's going to take a while. Let's go over here to E. Let's do E3. All right. We'll do Alaska. There we go. And a marshaller has been dispatched. Excellent. Well, I hope that this autopilot tutorial is what you needed to kind of get into this aircraft and start doing your thing and enjoying it. Someone had made a comment on my page, "You've really fallen in love with this aircraft," and I do like it. I don't know if I'd say I'm in love with it, but it's fun to fly, and maybe it's more so very satisfying to know how to do this aircraft properly. Suffice it to say, people wanted to know the tutorial, so I gotta fly it in order to understand. Yeah, they're bringing me in. Nice, nice, nice. But anyway, I do like the aircraft. I like it a lot. I'll be the first to say it. And I hope you do too. And I hope these tutorials work. If there's something else you need to know about this aircraft, just leave me a comment in the comment section and we'll see what I can do to help you out. Alright. So what you telling me? Go ahead and cut it. Okay, so we will put on the brakes and we will cut throttles. We will let these people out of their seat. And we can call it good. Well, thanks everybody. Appreciate you tuning in. I hope the tutorial was what you were hoping for, and I want you to enjoy this aircraft. Go ahead and get this American Eagle livery. It's the only American livery that I have found thus far for this aircraft, but we got Portugal if you want to do Europe. There's several European, so if you're in Europe and you want to do this, have at it. And I will just say goodbye, and I look forward to seeing you in the virtual skies.